Okay, so about 35 million Americans report using some illicit drug in the past year. But there's this sort of general belief that black people are using drugs disproportionate to their numbers in the population. I like to see empirical evidence be used in our shaping of public policy. Now, all of this was completely missed in the hysteria in the mid-'80s and '90s about crack cocaine.
After spending so much of his career studying drugs and drug laws in the black community, Carl's focus has turned to a new drug and a new target for law enforcement.
There is a new drug epidemic in the United States, methamphetamines, or meth. Like crack in the 1980s, meth is cheap, potent, and leads addicts to serious crimes.
All across America, we've got people who are trying to lure children into using meth.
By the 1990s, we were seeing a similar phenomenon occur with methamphetamine as we saw with crack cocaine.
They said meth would help me get through my exams.
But the people who are primarily associated with methamphetamine use are poor white folks in trailer parks.
A fully operational methamphetamine lab.
And also gay folks. Two sort of despised groups.
We don't like that at all. We can't stand people like that.
When we think about the country's response to methamphetamine users have been vilified. And the reason we have to recognize it is so we can be careful or more critical than we were with crack cocaine.
Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri. This is the heartland of the methamphetamine problem. How many of you are here on meth sentences? Wow. Now, how many of you did I personally sentence?
For a long time, crack cocaine was the drug that was populating the prisons. Methamphetamine, though, has rapidly caught up with it and probably overtaken it.
Today, the average person I sentence in a drug case is a nonviolent blue-collar worker who lost their job and then turned to manufacturing methamphetamine to support their habit. And we treat them like they're kingpins.
With their rates of incarceration rising, white inmates have started to receive the kind of harsh sentences that blacks have faced all along.
Hey, what's going on, man?
If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me?
My name's Kevin Hott. My number's 203093. I'm in here for trafficking methamphetamine. I start my 14th year in just a couple of months, and I will be here until I die. Yeah. I have life without parole for 3 ounces of methamphetamine.
I'm as free as a bird now.
I can't remember it, man. It's been too long. Yep, I fucked up. But I don't think I should die for it. I have life without parole, which means I'll stay in prison until I die. That's a death sentence in my opinion. A slow death sentence. I have to wait until I die. The reason I started with meth is because I got laid off. Somebody said, here, try to sell some of this and get you a little extra money. And then I started using it, and then I had to sell it to pay for it.
How much is 3 ounces of methamphetamine?
It will fit in a small envelope. If you've been busted for 2 prior drug charges, smoking pot or having pot or methamphetamine, whatever it is, and then you get a trafficking charge, they give you life without parole. It's mandatory. Life without parole.
Kevin has always been a good son. That's Kevin.
Oh, you gotta see this.
That same sweet little boy. Kevin's father was drafted and was sent to Vietnam. He looks very much like a boy. He was a boy. He went to Vietnam and came home a very damaged boy. He saw people that were maimed, injured, shot, and killed, and I think he became addicted to heroin to help ease his personal pain. After losing Kevin's dad, Kevin kind of stepped up and felt like he was the man of the household.
When I first came in, there was only a few of us, 5 or 6 at the most. A couple of years ago, I heard that there were 92 people in the state of Oklahoma that had life without parole for drugs. And it just keeps growing.
Yeah, got a visit.
I fought it, and it's over with. It's been over with probably 9 years. I took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and they wouldn't hear it. So here I am, waiting for the law to change or something. Commutation from the governor. I don't know. The time I've been locked up, my mother has lost 2 of her brothers, one of her brother's daughters, directly related to drugs. And then my sister, my young sister, 8 years younger than me, was coming to visit me in prison at Granite and died in a car wreck. It's been pretty bad for my mom. She's pretty strong.
Today, people have to understand that the drug war is actually a war on all Americans. And I think people keep saying, well, that's about them. Well, no, it's about you. No one ever imagined when they saw so many African Americans getting locked up, getting long sentences, that it would apply beyond the black community. But it does.
Unemployment at 9%. America is struggling through the worst recession since 1975.
With no prospect of an immediate end to the recession,
thousands of people, jobless and hopeless, look for a way out, find trouble instead.
Before I got hooked on drugs, I looked down on drug addicts. And then I became one. Oftentimes we hate what we fear. Like this guy here, he was a drug dealer, so I looked down upon him too, and I turned into a drug addict and a drug dealer.
You know, a funny thing happened on the way to the 21st century, which is that we shrugged off so much of our manufacturing base, so much of our need for organized labor, for a legitimate union wage, for union benefits, for the types of jobs in which you could raise a family and be a meaningful citizen. We got rid of so much of that, oops, we marginalized a lot of white people.
1 in every 8 Americans has had to visit a food bank over the last year.
And lo and behold, white people, when they're marginalized, when they are denied meaning, when they're denied meaningful work, they become drug addicts too. And they become involved in the methamphetamine trade, and they start turning themselves over to the underground economies that are the only ones there to accept them. Capitalism is fairly colorblind in the end. Our economic engine, when it doesn't need somebody, it doesn't need somebody. It doesn't give a damn who you are. White people found that a little bit later than black folk, but they found it out.
After hearing so much about the failure of the drug war and the enormous